Welcome back. Our next guest is part philosopher, part artist, part entrepreneur, and the owner of Longview Farm, a luxurious recording studio and horse farm in the rolling hills of North Brookfield, Massachusetts, where people like the Rolling Stones and Cat Stevens and Jay Geils spend time relaxing or rehearsing or recording. And I guess the most famous group, where the group that really put... Anyway, why don't I introduce Gil Markle, and then I'll tell you more about it. Pleasure to have you with us, Gil.
Thank you, Dan.
Longview really sort of jumped to national attention, really, with Stevie Wonder, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did a press party for Stevie Wonder in 1976 to introduce to the press an album called Songs in the Key of Life. Yeah. A very popular misunderstanding current is that Longview made that album. We did not. We threw a party for the man instead.
Oh, I see.
And this was for press people.
Yeah.
Reporters and photojournalists and TV people, and there were 250 of them. We chartered a stretch jet, actually, to bring them into Worcester Airport, the largest airplane that had ever set down in Worcester. Brought in a whole bunch of reporters to see Stevie Wonder and to hear Songs in the Key of Life.
Yeah.
And that helped us a lot.
Does that seem like an awful long time ago to you?
It seems like a real long time ago.
I can imagine.
It's the fall of 1976.
Yeah.
But that helped a lot. I mean, I didn't have to explain from that point on who I was or what Longview Farm was, and notwithstanding the misunderstanding that we made the album, it helped us a lot.
Yeah. Well, as misunderstandings go, that's a good misunderstanding. You could have worse misunderstandings.
People hear what they want to believe a lot of times, and the very discussion we're having now will probably have the same effect of deepening the misunderstanding that we made the thing, which we never did.
Either pay attention or that's the way it goes. Now, the last group to really get a lot of attention when they moved in on you were the Rolling Stones. How long were they out there?
They were there for 6 weeks. 6 weeks and a few days. Although it seemed longer because it took us a month, 5 weeks to get ready for them under conditions of utmost secrecy. We weren't supposed to tell anybody the Rolling Stones were coming.
Yeah.
It was probably the worst kept secret that year in Massachusetts.
Was it really?
Everybody.
I can imagine the pressure on you must have been murder. Everybody who...
Well, it was, because we were afraid we were going to lose the gig if a leak had been traced to us.
Yeah.
So it was real hard because everybody knew the Stones were coming. Although everyone had been sworn to secrecy, mainly by me, and made to understand that if they leaked the news, it could screw things up for everybody.
Yeah.
Stones might not come, and the thing wouldn't happen, and no one would get their story or their interview with Mick Jagger or anything, and that kept things quiet, fortunately.
How big is the farm?
The farm is 150 acres. It's big. It's a Disney-like spread with a pond and horses and cows and chickens, the whole works.
Now, I would just imagine people would be crawling through the woods and swimming up the stream and everything else.
Yeah, they were coming from all over the world.
How do you handle security for something like that? How do you keep
It's rough. Fortunately, they brought some people of their own. We had 4, 5, 6 people doing it at any one time. Now, there were kids crawling on their faces across the mud at any time of night or day. It was a real problem.
Did you get much sleep during
I didn't get too much sleep, no. We were working 16, 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a lot of excitement, and the upheaval, the craziness that it meant. Well, you were in Hartford then, right?
Yeah.
It was nuts. I mean, there were people calling us from all over the world, heads of state, daughters of other rock musicians, groupies from all over the world. I mean, there were 4 calls on hold at any one time on the Longview phones. It was quite an experience.
You must create quite a stir in the area. I mean, in terms of...
In North Brookfield?
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were saying the calls were coming in from all over, I can imagine the local telephone exchange and the post office and the police departments and saloons.
Yeah, it was a major event for the gentle townsfolk of North Brookfield. We're being called the rock and roll capital of the world for a while. And,
well, you were, as far as that goes.
I guess so. I guess so, but it was a great deal of excitement for them.
What did the Stones ever tell you why they picked Longview?
No, they didn't tell us why they picked Longview, although I think it's fair to surmise that it was pretty easy to handle the logistical problems, the problems of security at Longview, since the place is big and remote, and if you don't know how to get there, it's hard. Also, I think they reached some judgment concerning our ability to control media on their behalf. They basically didn't want any coverage. It was no comment as far as we were concerned. So people would call, and we would actually have to say that we could not confirm that they were even there. Even though it was quite obvious from the helicopters doing circles overhead. Channel 5's helicopter being one of them, in point of fact that they were there.
Oh, I'm sure. I would suspect that as they took off for their American tour, you sat back and heaved a sigh, really?
Yeah, I actually felt the air seal of that Fokker jet that they leased for that one-day trip from Worcester to Philadelphia. I mean, it was a long period of very fast pitches that was finally behind us.
That's great. Well, now, I understand you've written a book.
Yeah, I have written a book. It's a book called Rehearsal. I couldn't stop thinking about those 6 weeks, even after the band had left. The craziness that it meant for the area, for me as an individual, just kept on going around and around in my head.
When you say the craziness, in what sense? Just the total thing was crazy?
Just the social upheaval, the careers that were laid waste, others enhanced, the relationships between individuals that were changed, brought under strain. It was a very, very a turbulent period of time, particularly for people in the news gathering end of things in the entertainment business like us. I mean, there was no one career was exactly the same after as it was before.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I really hadn't thought of it that way. But, you know, another thing that sort of popped into my mind is that one doesn't have to be Mick Jagger to go out and use the facilities at Longview. I mean, it's a recording studio.
I'm very glad you asked that question, Dan. No, we have done as much work for local bands, grassroots bands. As a matter of fact, Berlin Airlift in its earlier incarnations saw the inside of Longview Farm. We've done several hundred local bands and are fully as proud of them as we are of the John Belushis and the Geils Band and the Stones and people like that.
You must have a ton of anecdotes. I mean, a ton of anecdotes.
There are a lot of them, and I'd probably have difficulty remembering one.
No, but I mean it's no fair to say, gosh, what's Cat Stevens like or something like that, you know. But
Cat Stevens was at the end of his recording career. We made his last album. I don't know what kind of distinction that is for Longview Farm. It was at that point that he declared a religious conversion and basically went off to South America, I think, at the time. He was basically into nuts and berries and leading a very ascetic life at the time. Not at all rock and roll. One could sense that a change in his life was forthcoming.
Now, is Longview your full-time? Does that command all your time? I know you were in the student. You were a teacher of philosophy, which is
years ago.
A valuable thing to have in your background, I suspect, as you look at all of this. But then there was the student. You had a big student tour business.
Well, I still do, as a matter of fact.
That's what I didn't know.
It was the success of a company called the American Leadership Study Groups. It's a company that sends high school kids to Europe in the spring and the summer, generally with their teachers from high schools all over the United States. It was the success of that company which allowed me to dabble in the recording arts in the early 70s.
Yeah, did you really get into it sort of as a hobby? You just wanted a big soundboard and you wanted
I was a bit tired. I was a bit tired of teaching. I was teaching philosophy at the time at Clark, and I'd had a bit much of that. I'd been doing it for 7 years. And ALSG was doing very well, and I was basically able to go out and borrow the money I needed to buy Longview Farm, which I first thought of as a home place to raise kids and have a family. But I'd had some tape recorders, and I was playing with them and enjoying the time I spent with them, and one thing led to another. And all of a sudden I was unable to justify my hobby to my friends and to my bankers, for that matter. And that's when Longview turned from a hobby into a business.
It sure has. Well, so what looms large in your future?
I don't know. I would be putting you on if I led you to believe that I really know what I'm doing. I don't. It's just one one different thing after another.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what next. I didn't know I was going to write a book. I didn't know the Rolling Stones were going to come. I didn't know that the Geils Band was going to make an album.
How did that?
They're all surprises.
Yeah, how did the telephone call come through? We just have a second or two, but at what point did somebody say, you know who's coming?
I was in Switzerland at the Montreux Jazz Festival when someone called me and said, the Rolling Stones are coming to Longview Farm. I said, I'll be home tomorrow, which I did.
I'll bet you did. Well, listen, Gil, thanks a lot for coming by.
Thank you for having me here.
Appreciate it.
Good enough, man.
And now, appropriately enough, it's time for one of Boston's best bands. Once again, Berlin Airlift, This Is Your Life.